Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Mullin, welcome to the committee. I see you have some supporters with you today. Chairman Smith, good to see you. My friend Sean O'Brien is here. I want the record to reflect that my money was always on O'Brien. I just want that noted. I want it noted for the record. Senator Mullin, let me ask you this. In your own words, could you tell us just in capsule form, what is it that DHS, what's the mission of DHS as you understand it, as you would put it, as you would explain it?
Quite simply, it's simple: to protect the homeland.
Very good. To protect the homeland. Okay, let me ask you this. 10 days ago, there was a shooting at Old Dominion University that left one person dead, 2 people critically injured. The gunman had potential terrorist ties. Is this a good time for the Department of Homeland Security to be shut down and unfunded?
It's the worst time, and keep in mind, we just came up a 43-day shutdown, as this is the 3rd time in a year, and it's devastating to the morale of the men and women we have tasked to take care of all of us, all the homeland, regardless if it's a blue state or it's a red state. We have to look at it all the same, and they have that mission mindset, but they don't have the pay to follow it up.
A few days before that, 2 individuals attempted to detonate bombs in New York City in a way that would cause mass civilian casualties. Both of those individuals have potential terrorist connections. In light of that, is it a good time for DHS to be shut down?
Sir, I think with the current conditions, this is the worst time we could possibly do it.
A few days before that, in Austin, Texas, 3 people were fatally shot outside of a bar there when a gunman opened fire in the early hours of a Sunday morning. That gunman also had potential terrorist ties, and yet DHS is shut down. Just a week ago, a gunman loaded his truck with incendiary devices and rammed it into the Temple Israel Synagogue outside Detroit, Michigan. As I'm sure you know, 40 law enforcement officers, 40, had to get emergency medical attention. It's a miracle. By the grace of God, nobody was killed except for the gunman. But 40 individuals had to get medical attention, and yet DHS is still shut down. Let me just ask you this. Law enforcement dangers. I think I've got a poster that'll go up behind me here. In the last year alone, we have seen an 8,000% increase in death threats to law enforcement, a 1,300% increase in assaults, a 124% increase in vehicular attacks using a vehicle, against a CBP law enforcement. Now, in light of this, is it a good time for DHS to be shut down?
Sir, it's a horrible time.
Let's talk about children. Let's talk about the dangers to children. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children estimates that there are 20.5 million reports of suspected online and child exploitation. That includes almost 20 million reports of child pornography, 546,300 reports of online enticement of children for sexual acts, and 27,000 reports of child sex trafficking. Is it a good time for DHS to be shut down?
No, sir.
Let me ask you if you've seen this poster that I'm about to put behind me. Have you ever seen this before, Senator?
I don't believe so.
There's no reason you should have. I was introduced to this material by Tim Tebow, the Heisman Trophy winner, who now spends a lot of his time trying to help work with child victims of sex abuse. This poster reflects every individual IP address in the United States in about a 1-month period that was sharing, distributing, posting, or trading child sex abuse material or child pornography of some form. You want to guess how many points there are on that map?
It makes me sick. I have no idea.
338,000. That's just a 1-month period. Can you see any blue dots on that map, Senator Mullin?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there's very, you got better eyes than I do. I mean, there's like very few of them. I'd be surprised if anybody in the audience could see them. The blue dots are the number of investigations that are open. Look at the red dots, 338,000. Look at the blue dots, you can hardly see them. Why would that be? Because in the best of times, the Department of Homeland Security has only 10 HSI agents who are fully dedicated to doing this. It's all Congress has given you, 10. Right now, none of those are funded. Is this a good time for the Department of Homeland Security to be shut down?
I think any parent can look at that, and it makes you sick, especially with teenage daughters like myself. That's scary. We have to focus on this.
It's very scary. That's exactly right. I'm glad to hear you say that. The Biden administration and your predecessor in this role, Alejandro Mayorkas, lost track of 450,000 children who were trafficked across our border over a 4-year period. 450,000 children. It's the biggest child trafficking ring that was set up under the last administration in the history of this country. The president has been doing a tremendous job. They found in the last year over 145,000 of them. That leaves almost 300,000 who are still missing. And yet, the Department of Homeland Security is unfunded and shut down. Let me just ask you again, does it seem like a good time for that?
No, sir.
Let's talk a little bit about the challenges that are being faced by people across the country who are facing natural disasters, as we have in my home state of Missouri. We had major tornadoes rip through Missouri last spring, all across the state, particularly concentrated in the eastern part of the state, the St. Louis area, southeast Missouri. We have thousands of people who are without power, who lost their homes, many who were injured. We have had much disaster aid approved by FEMA, but we're still waiting for some of that aid to get to us. And now FEMA is shut down. So I've got thousands of people in Missouri who are awaiting the aid that the president has approved, by the way, and that FEMA has approved, but that's in the process of coming to the state. I've got probably hundreds of people who are not able to go back to their homes and who are applying for individual assistance that hasn't yet been processed by FEMA, and now they're being told, well, sorry, there's nothing we can do because FEMA's shut down. Does this seem like a good time for DHS and FEMA to be shut down?
No, sir.
In any airport in the country right now, if you go and look, you will find hours, backups of 4 and 5 hours. You'll find TSA agents. You alluded to this earlier, Senator. Over 10% of TSA agents now are not able to come to the job. Why? Because they make on average $45,000 a year. They can't afford their rent. They can't afford to buy groceries for their kids. They've missed now 2 paychecks. This is endangering the security of our flyers. It's endangering the security of our airports. This is a terrible time for DHS to be shut down. Here's my point. Whether we're talking about children who are missing, whether we're talking about the situation against our law enforcement officers, whether we're talking about the dangers to the homeland, we are involved in a major conflict overseas. This nation's homeland needs to be secured, and yet my friends across the aisle have shut down the Department of Homeland Security. They have defunded every agency we just talked about, and I just want to ask them, how long is it going to take? How long are these children going to have to wait in exploitation? How many more are going to have to go missing? How many TSA agents are going to be able to afford to put food on the table for their children? How long are the people of St. Louis and southeast Missouri going to have to wait to get back into their homes before we can finally have a vote to reopen the Department of Homeland Security? It is long past time. I welcome your nomination. You're going to be a terrific leader of Homeland Security. I can't wait to see you there. But it's time for this Congress to do its job and fund DHS and protect the homeland of the United States of America. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Support journalism you trust. Support PBS News. Donate now, or even better, start a monthly contribution today.